Hello, good morning. How is everyone doing? I always start these streams by asking how everyone is doing, and I always feel a little silly for it because I'm shouting into the void, you know? So folks in the comments, please let us know how you're doing so I don't feel so silly this morning. Tyler, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah.
It's good. It's good to be streaming with you. I'm really excited. I feel like you and I have been like having a great back and forth with the GitHub Actions for like a year, maybe a bit more than a year. So I'm really excited that we get to hang out on video for a little bit. This should be a lot of fun. Um, so for folks that are tuning in, do chime in. We do read the comments. We want to know you're there. Tell us you're here. Say hi. Let us know what your questions are. I'm Shy. I'm part of the developer relations team at Contentful. I'm really excited to be here for this one. This one is something I've been looking forward to for a couple months. Tyler, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Maybe you can share with the audience why I'm so excited to have you here on stream with me.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tyler Hall. I'm a technical architect at a company called SomoGlobal. We're based out of London, but we have offices on 3 continents right now, which is kind of cool. But yeah, we're a digital agency, so we build products for other folks, for other companies. We help them like figure out their how to solve problems with that they have with digital solutions. And a large part of that is a large part of those projects, like we use Contentful, like for even on the SomoGlobal website, we use Contentful as our CMS of choice. And then, yeah, there was a Contentful as a GitHub action, and I had made some commits to that, and that's how I met Shy, and then it's just been just keeping an open dialogue with you. So yeah, it's great to be on a live stream with you.
Yeah, I'm excited. So Soma's based in London. Is your manager in London or is your manager in the States?
So my manager's in the States. So I'm based out of Charleston, South Carolina, and the CTO of Somo lives in Charleston. And at one point, he was the only Charleston person, and then he's grown that Charleston office now to I think we have around 30 people there. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's I asked because my manager is based in Berlin, and all of my like managers since I started getting a real job have been in Europe, and I really love the morning meeting flow where you spend your mornings in meetings and then the afternoon you just get focus time. And so I was wondering if maybe you had the same thing. I'm gonna give some shout outs to the people in the comments. We've got Mark back, we've got Henry back. And Henry's going to be doing something exciting tomorrow, which I'm going to share in a little bit. Salma's back as always. We've got Coding with Luce, and if anyone else is in there, feel free to say hi so we can give you a shout out as well.
They're digging your fancy jacket.
Yeah. There's a story behind these jackets as well, and so I figured now that I have some jackets with Contentful branding, these are the perfect excuse to wear them. So.
There's some jacket lore.
You have no idea. So yeah, talking about Henry, we are doing a community meetup tomorrow. We've started trying community meetups. They're a lot of fun. We did one last month. We're going to be doing one every month. Roughly the third Wednesday of the month is what we're going to be shooting for. We're going to have a meetup in the European time zone and a meetup in the North American time zone. And you can learn more about both of them on the Contentful website. We have some amazing speakers that are joining. Henry's going to be coming on to share some knowledge. Henry's been doing some really cool tutorials and kind of documentary style work around images and the image element. And I'm so excited to hear what Henry wants to talk about tomorrow. We're going to have Phil from Netlify. We're going to have Erica, who's one of my friends. She's a freelance developer, and she built some really cool software to kind of help bring to light housing disparity in the COVID crisis. And so we're gonna have some really great speakers tomorrow on the Contentful community hangout, and we're gonna hang out afterwards and play some Among Us as well. So if you would like the opportunity to murder me immediately, which seems to happen every time we play Among Us, please come on by. I feel like have you played Among Us, Tyler?
Oh yeah, we have like team meetings where we meet among
Yeah.
us.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds difficult and impractical.
Well, not I should admit that, not meetings, but we have like sort of team like bonding sort of time
Yeah.
to play Among Us. Yeah.
I feel like the people are gonna know I'm the imposter if I don't die within the first round.
Sounds about right for me.
Yeah. So something to look forward to in the community hangout tomorrow. If you, we'd love to see all of y'all in the audience there as well. And then, as always, we've got our links that we love to share. We have our code of conduct, our streams, our meetups, everything that we do with Contentful. We try to, well, no, we don't try. We do adhere to the Contentful code of conduct. And you can learn more about that at ctfl.io/coc. It's on our GitHub. It's in our documentation. If you search for code of conduct. It's basically TLDRs down to like harassment and abuse aren't tolerated. If someone tells you you're doing something that makes them feel uncomfortable, that's enough of a reason to stop. If there's anything going on, please feel free to reach out. On our moderation and reporting links are in that document as well. And that goes to our whole DevRel and field marketing team. So feel free to reach out if there's any issues or if anyone is doing anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. We want to make sure to address it and resolve it as quickly as possible. We've got our developer portal, which is the place to go to learn about anything Contentful developer related, regardless of where you are in your Contentful developer journey. If you've just discovered Contentful for the first time on this live stream, welcome. We'd love to have you, and we hope you hang out. And you can go check out our developer portal when we're done. Or if you're an old timer that's been doing Contentful for years and you're looking to see what's new, what's exciting, what are the latest and greatest features, you can learn more about that at contentful.com/developer. It's where we have links to our live streams, our events, everything that you need to be successful is right there, including links to our Slack. And our Slack is like the go-to place for getting help from members in the community. We have this phenomenal Contentful community that's super responsive. If you have questions, people in there are really, really lovely at helping and providing knowledge and sharing advice and best practices. I'm such a fan of everyone in the Contentful community as well. If you're looking to learn GraphQL, we have a GraphQL course that we're really proud of. It'll teach you GraphQL, React, and Contentful. It's a really great place to get started in learning some of those technologies. And if you build something, we will hook you up with swag. We have some limited edition swag that we're starting to run out of. So if you have a GraphQL project, you got to get it in pretty quickly. But otherwise, I think that's everything I want to talk about. Should we jump into what we're doing today, Tyler? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah,
cool.
Good.
Let me go ahead and add you to the screen. I see your terminal. So what do you got for me? I read the tweets and I hear we're doing something with Pokemon today, and I'm really excited about this.
Yeah. So basically, the talk today, what we're going to do is we're going to use the Contentful action to develop a couple features on a little web app that we've built and kind of sort of demonstrate what the Contentful action does, how you can plug it into other actions, how you can take advantage of it in like a continuous integration and delivery sort of workflow. And just playing around with that using workflows. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So I have a repository here. First of all of this code is on my GitHub. If you wanted to follow along or take a look in depth at it, the Contentful Livestream repo there. But this is a Learn a monorepo. Right now, it just has one project in it. So we're using Yarn along with Lerna, and we have a Pokemon project here that has a app that is written using Next.js and deployed on Vercel. And then we have our Contentful migrations folder, which is yet another module. And this is actually where we're holding all the migrations that are run by Contentful action. So
I see that you've named that something custom, and maybe we can talk about that in a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. So we have the GitHub workflow. I mean, there's nothing too crazy going on in here, but basically we have being triggered.
Maybe we could talk a little bit about what GitHub Actions is and why someone would choose to use it. We've talked. I think we've talked about migrations on the live streams before, but we haven't really talked about GitHub Actions and like why it's interesting or what it's for. Maybe we could pull up their page and poke around and maybe you could share kind of what some of the reasons that you like it are with us.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, GitHub Actions is kind of GitHub's answer to like continuous integration and continuous integration and also delivery. I mean, there's kind of like a marketplace of actions that are kind of like little bite-sized pieces that you can sort of tie into each other and use to build out sort of what GitHub refers to as a workflow. And there's tons of little actions that are pre-built, but you can also build your own. And so you can kind of you can use GitHub Actions to lint your code on particular events that are emitted from GitHub.
Oh, I need to set that up in every workflow ever for me.
What, this one right here?
No, linting.
Oh, yes. So you could use it to, and we have that set up in here. So we're using a standard JS for linting, but you can use a GitHub action to lint your code. You can there's GitHub Actions for deploying to like pushing a bunch of static files to like an S3 bucket or something like that. But if you needed to build your own, you can also build your own. And if we have enough time today, we'll get to building our own GitHub action to hook in to our workflow. And so,
yeah, I see that you're using the default check-in action, the default cache action as well. Setup, which is one that was in that repo that we were just looking at, and then you're running yarn and all of that stuff as well. And I like that you have it set up so you've got it like really specifically filtered. It only runs on pull requests to master and filters to master as well, which I think is really nice. You can set up branch deploys if you want, if you've got something like Netlify that supports branch deploys, and I think Vercel supports branch deploys as well. But sometimes you've got to pay for each of those individual branches, but it does make it really easy to kind of configure and filter like when it runs and how it runs, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, there's all sorts of events that will trigger workflows. They're all in the GitHub docs. And there's even...
Do you mind bumping that font up once or twice?
Yeah, definitely.
There we go.
So there's a lot of events that you can... a
pull request, review, comment.
Yeah, and then even within like pull request, you have like activity types that you can even refine your workflows off of. So not just pull request, but you can say, okay, when a pull request is opened, I might want to do something, or maybe when a pull request is waiting for review, maybe I want to like post in a Slack channel, like, hey, like this PR is ready for review, like folks go take a look at it. So for some GitHub Actions, you can actually refine it even more to have more tailored sort of responses to the event based on the activity types. And we kind of do that, again, if we have some time, we'll get to that as well. And then and again, also for some sort of events, like pull requests, for example, you can constrain them to only run when paths in your repo change, which is kind of what we're doing here.
Oh, that's awesome. So like only run if you make a change to your source code or like your static assets or something like that. So
yeah, so if you have like a mono repo, for example, where you might have multiple projects inside of this package folder, you might want to have a workflow for all of your, like this is the Pokemon app. Maybe I have like a bar app and packages. I could have a separate workflow up in this GitHub Workflows directory that will only be triggered off of a change to packages / like foobar. And so that way I'm not having to have unnecessary builds. And so GitHub Actions, it just gives you a little sandbox. You can do a lot of different things.
That's great. We're dropping knowledge bombs. We have Adrian returning once again, and Adrian said that they didn't know that, and they need one that runs when the Open API file changes. So we're helping people already. So it's a good stream already.
Yeah. It's definitely this paths sort of strategy is definitely a good way to.
Yeah, I like it.
help modularize some of the workflow code up here, because that's actually one thing that's GitHub's gotten a lot of feedback on is how can I do things like reuse steps? How can I like reuse some of the code here? But this is one way that you can do it, is just constraining a workflow to a path in your repo, and then
I was joking with you a little bit offline before we got started that I really miss the visual style editor of GitHub Actions. So this is I think V2 of GitHub Actions, and as cool as the visual editor was, I have to admit that this level of granularity is like so much more useful and powerful. And so when they were balancing those two constraints, I think they made the right call, dropping the visual editor for this kind of level of detail.
Yeah. And I think the visual editor, I was looking this weekend, and it looks like it might be back, reincarnated. So I don't know if there's any differences. I'll have to play around with it some more. But
yeah, we'll have to see. We're going to have Brian from the GitHub team with us in January. He was supposed to come on 2 weeks ago, and we were chatting, and he was like, we've got some really cool stuff coming. I'd rather talk to you after GitHub Universe rather than before GitHub Universe. So maybe he'll be able to show us that in January.
Awesome.
But yeah, should we take a look at the app, see what you built, and then we can take a look at the workflow file and see how we're kind of changing it. Yeah,
so I guess I can show you the app first. So this is just like a little fun app that we as part of like for this live stream. I'm not, so disclaimer,
you keep saying we, like I helped here. This is all you did all of the work. Like I hope folks in the audience are not falsely attributing any of this work to me. This is all Tyler putting in the app right here.
Well, that way if something doesn't style correctly or something like gets all wonky in the styling,
that's my fault. That's my fault. Yeah.
So we built out this little
cool Pokemon
lover
Pokedex.
So this is, first of all, I have to give a huge shout out to the Poke API.
Yeah.
This is a RESTful API. That's all. It's all in the open domain. It's free to use. The folks on the Poke API team have done a ton of work here, and it's really well documented, and you can just use it. And so huge shout out to them. What we ended up doing was we actually wrapped one of the resources, which is the Pokemon resource, and we wrapped that with GraphQL, and we use that to feed this view here where we just have a bunch of Pokemon. We're grabbing like the weight, the types, and then you might notice that some of the Pokemon, they have like little outlines around them. And this is like, so Pokemon lovers, like you write blog posts about Pokemon. And so if I were to click on Bulbasaur here, I can go to a blog post about Bulbasaur.
Was Bulbasaur your starter?
For Gen 1, I preferred Squirtle.
Yeah, I was a Squirtle boy for Gen 1 as well.
Yeah. But
I was really sold by the anime where he wore sunglasses.
Yeah, the Squirtle Squad. It's good stuff. Yeah, so there's nothing crazy here. This is really just to demonstrate some of the have a little sandbox that we can use to play around with the Contentful action and the sandbox environments and whatnot. So we get a blog post, and then we have this little section down here for related blog posts that if there's any other blog posts about Bulbasaur, it will link them here. And so we can click on that, and then we go to the other blog posts, and you can see that we can get back to the original from here. And same goes for something like Pikachu. We got a blog post about Trunkus Pikachu. And this is all lorem ipsum text, obviously. But no related blog posts here, but we're actually going to be updating this as part of what we're doing today. So this is all Next.js. So we have our pages directory. That's pretty standard. We do have 2 API endpoints. We have a health check just to sort of demonstrate.
Make sure we're up.
Yeah. And we also have a test with it, so we can kind of demonstrate running tests as part of our CI. Then we have a GraphQL. One thing that I do with Next.js apps is, you have this API directory and it'll automatically spin up Lambdas for you. I like having this functions directory, so that way I don't have to put everything in this one file. I can have a whole module here with its own package JSON, and its own sort of directory structure. And then as long as I have like the default export from my index file here, I can just export that as the default here. And I don't have any of those, because if you have a bunch of files in here, Next.js automatically assumes by default that those are all lambdas, and it's going to try and set those as lambdas and make them available. Of course, if someone tries to hit them, they're going to fail. So I like having a functions folder. Each of them is a little module. Again, like this is utilizing our workspaces.
Keep it small, keep it specific. That's a pretty small package there.
Yeah, so we have like our schemas. We're doing some schema stitching. So we have like our wrapper around the Poke API. So you can see that we have our Pokemon schema here, where we just have our type defs for Pokemon. And then we are just populating all of those fields on our type. And you can also see that we have a related blog post type we're actually delegating to the Contentful schema that we stitch to get the related blog posts.
What do you, so you said you're mapping on the names and you're mapping on the types.
Yeah, so we have, we get the names, the weight,
and the IDs,
the URL, the types, the ID, all of that's coming from the Poke API. The name comes from the query. So we get the name here, or the name here. And of course, because we're talking about GraphQL, GraphQL is now going to try and look for a Pokemon resolver. And we have one defined here. And because we're using a data loader to load our data from the Poke API, data loader is going to go ahead and batch our requests to the Poke API to make sure that we're as efficient as we can be with fetching that data from the Poke API. So that way we're able to write each of our resolvers as sort of isolated little pieces that think they're fetching their own data. So they're easy to test, easily isolated, but underneath the hood, there's some batching and some optimization going on with our data loader.
I like it.
And one other thing, there's no variable assignment in this file, which is nice. Everything's just heavily using Lambda and some composition. So it's all.
What's Lambda?
Lambda is a utility library similar to Lodash, but it's kind of geared more towards like a functional style. Lambda is a cool one. Another cool one is called Sanctuary. There's another one that's a friend of mine works with the guy who built it. It's called Crocs. And there's a bunch of like abstract data types that you can use as part of your code. They have like eithers, maybes, like some of like, if you've done anything with Haskell, they have some of the data types that you might be familiar with there, part of Crocs. So definitely check that out. But that's basically it there. And then the Contentful schema, there's nothing crazy here. We just have the Contentful schema.
Get your keys, load your client.
Yep, we got the client, we have our executor, and then we wrap the schema. We prepend Contentful to all the names to just make sure we don't get conflict. And that's how we have our Contentful schema. And then we just stitch all of that together inside of our schema file here. Our Poke API and then our Contentful schema. So what we end up with is, so we go to /API/GraphQL. Oh, gosh.
Excuse me. No.
So we end up getting some cool docs with our Apollo playground. We got all the Contentful types, and then we have our two Pokemon collection types. And you can see that Pokemon, it's actually delegating
blogs. Oh, I love this.
This is actually a Contentful type that we stitch in that we're using as part of the Pokemon type, and we just delegate to the Contentful schema.
That's really cool. I'm always impressed at how small these like schema stitching files are. Like that whole thing was maybe what, like 50 or 60 lines of code total to get this working between two APIs.
Yeah, it's
across like a couple different functions.
Especially like with the library, like the GraphQL tools.
Yeah.
The GraphQL tools library. I mean, it's pretty great. It makes it really, really straightforward to do. They've done a lot of awesome work there.
Yeah.
All right.
That's awesome.
So let's go ahead and First of all, we do have our content in Contentful. We have like a pretty simple content model. We just have one sort of particular type that we built, which is our Pokemon blog.
Yeah.
We can see here that we have a title, a name, some content, and we have a slug for our URL. And then we have some pieces of content. So we have some blogs written about Pokemon. We have one about Magneton. We got Raichu. Got some on Bulbasaur, Cyndaquil, Vileplume.
Cyndaquil is definitely the best Pokemon for sure. It's my favorite.
It's one of my favorite starters. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, has a really cool evolution as well. Typhlosion is pretty awesome too.
So that's our content model. So kind of what we're going to be doing today is we've already added in our.
Well, here, why don't we take a look at that? You had one more thing in there as well, that version tracking, which I guess we can talk about that later when it becomes relevant. But it's yeah,
I was going to touch on that. So like I've already set up the Contentful action. So in the Contentful action, in the workflow, we do some things like we check out our code.
Yeah. Should we go take a look at that GitHub repo as well, really quickly, so folks know what we mean when we say this is one of the things I don't like about GitHub Actions is that the terminology gets confusing very quickly. You know, so it's the Contentful GitHub action, and it's kind of confusing what you know. It kind of gets all over the place. You know.
Yeah. So this is the Contentful action, and it's you're just able to reference it in a workflow file.
Can you say that again? I think you got a little distorted there. Would you mind saying that again?
Yeah, so this is the Contentful action, and you can just reference it inside of a GitHub workflow file to use it as part of it.
I think I saw in the code it was just add Contentful action to spin it up was what you were doing. Yep.
And then what this Contentful action does is it will, when you open a PR, it will actually take the branch name.
A PR on your repository, not on this repository.
No, yeah, when you open up a PR on your repository. So if I were to open up a PR on my Contentful Livestream repo, the workflow, the GitHub workflow would trigger, and the Contentful action would spin up. It would take the branch name. It would spin up a new Contentful environment inside of Contentful, branched off of our master environment. And then it would look for Contentful migrations that are in our repository. And if it found some, and it uses this special content type inside of Contentful, the version tracking type, which is actually what we have here. This is what this is. It actually goes off of the version here, and it will find, okay, what migrations have run, what migrations do I need to run, and it will run all those using the Contentful CLI.
Yeah.
And so this way you can actually completely automate the migration of your content inside of Contentful. There's no having to create content models. There's no having to manually sort of keep track of that. You can actually just write migrations very similar to how you might write database migrations. Except it's like migrating your content, and the Contentful action will run those for you automatically. And then, but that's not all it does. On a merge to master, it will do the same thing. It will branch off of master. It will run the migrations that it needs to, and it detects that you've done a merge to master, and it will re-alias this new environment to be your master environment. And so. And because it runs all the migrations prior to doing the re-aliasing, you have like virtually no downtime, however long it takes to reassign the alias, which I think Contentful docs say it's like a couple hundred.
Aliases are very fast. Yeah. Environments can be slow if you have a big content model, but aliases are super fast because it's just a pointer.
Yeah.
And starting by the end of the week, it'll support custom aliases. I didn't want to. I upgraded the the circled extension that we have to support custom aliases, but the GitHub one will support custom aliases. I just didn't want to do it until we finished streaming. I felt like that might be poor form to update it before we hopped on video.
Oh, what's going on?
It's not a breaking change, but it is a change, and so I figured I should hold off until we finished it. But it'll be able to support custom aliases soon too.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So yeah, what you do on the Contentful action, you pull it into your workflow. It takes a couple environment variables. So one is your Contentful space ID that you want to operate on. The other one, it does need a management API key from Contentful. You can just generate that from your Contentful dashboard. And then another optional thing that you can provide is the migrations directory.
Shout out to you for that, because you're the one who actually set that up. Originally, when I made the action, I wasn't thinking that you would want to configure anything. I was just like, yeah, just do it my way. Like, who wants to configure it? And you gave a very one of your many PRs to make this better was to make it so this was configurable. So shout out to you on that one.
Well, it was definitely scratching a personal itch because, like I said, I like monorepos. I like projects.
No, this makes perfect sense. Honestly, I should have done this from the beginning. I don't know why I didn't do it straight away like this.
Yeah, and so we have our migrations directory. Yeah. This is for Pokemon PRs, pointing to our Contentful migrations directory with our Pokemon package. And so, which means that I could have another workflow in here for like a foobar package, and I could use the same GitHub action. Pass in a different secret for the space ID, a different secret for management API key, and then point it to the foobar migrations. And so, and I can have multiple Contentful apps just being all within one repo and all nice and segmented out. There's no like jumbling of the mixing the different code together or doing something janky with a single migrations folder, but only some of them run on certain spaces. It sounds like a nightmare. So with this, you're able to specify.
Yeah, no, this makes perfect sense.
For this workflow, I want these migrations.
No, this is awesome. I really appreciate that change and that pull request. I think that made it a lot more manageable. So
yeah, and so the first thing that I was going to do as part of this live stream was we have this deployed on Vercel, but it's always pointing to the master environment. So you can actually see inside of our GraphQL Lambda, inside of our Contentful schema, we always have it pulling from the master by default. And Contentful space environment is an environment variable that we set up inside of Vercel to point to master for our production branch. But it would be really awesome if we were able to, anytime we opened a PR, Vercel gives us that sandbox environment on the Vercel side, and now with the Contentful action, we get a corresponding sandbox on the Contentful side. It'd be great if we could have them talk to each other. So that's going to be sort of the first thing that we're going to do, and it's actually a really simple code change that we can do just in this file, and actually using an environment variable that Vercel provides, but similar other tools. If you're not using Vercel, there's lots of other tools that offer something similar. And so what we're going to do is we're going to remove the default being master, and we're actually going to make it something. We're actually going to make it point to our Contentful space that's created by the
branch deploy.
Yeah, by the branch deploy, exactly. That's awesome. And so this is what is this? This is Vercel get commit ref. So this is one of the environment variables that Vercel provides for you. You have a bunch of documentation that goes into all the environment variables that they provide. Similar platforms have something similar to this. This is basically just like the branch name.
Would it be helpful if we explained kind of Vercel and like what that technology stack is? I'm not sure how familiar people are. I feel like Netlify has become pretty commonplace, but in Vercel, I think is getting pretty close as well to being kind of pretty common. But maybe we could talk about like why you would use Vercel over something like, I don't know, AWS or Google's App Engine or something like that.
Yeah, sure. So Vercel, they used to be called Zeit. They changed their name to Vercel a couple months ago. They're the same group of folks that are behind Next.js. Which is a really awesome React framework. They
also make Hyper, the Hyper terminal, which is like my favorite thing ever as well.
Nice. So, but they also, in addition to Next and a bunch of other open source tools they also build this deployment platform. It used to be called Now, and now it's just called Vercel.
Yeah.
And they have a GitHub app that's actually using a GitHub action that they've built.
Yeah.
It's just the GitHub app is just a thin wrapper around their GitHub action.
Yeah.
That will, on PRs, it will actually take your code, it will build your code, and then it will take this Next.js. If you're using a Next.js app, it has tight integrations with Next.js, and it's able to automatically know, based on the structure of your Next.js app, it can spin up lambdas, it can host static, it can push up static assets for you. It knows based on the sort of like methods that you're using on each of your pages, whether it's get static props or get server-side props, whether to generate a lambda or whether to generate like just static HTML. It performs the build of your website at build time and then pushes all those assets up for you and hosts them. And so you get like a pretty nice dashboard here where you get to see all of your functions. These are all lambdas that are running. And then you can see the source code as well. But Vercel is just a really awesome platform where you're able to just deploy your code.
Yeah, I really like it. There are some really smart folks that are working there. So
yeah, and they
to
now
be fair, I absolutely adore Hyper. So so I feel like anything the Vercel team does, I'm gonna be into.
They just announced as part of
like built-in lighthousing.
They have like built-in analytics now.
That's really cool.
They have built-in like image optimization with their new image component in Next.js 10, which we're actually using in this little project. They have.
We actually just made a pull request to that, or we did a stream where we were going to make a pull request to that as well. If folks are curious to check that out, I'll toss it in the comments as well. So,
but they have obviously they have tight integration with Next because they're the same company that builds Next, but they also have a lot of other sort of pre-built
great
that just work.
Create React app, 11D, all sorts of great stuff.
So you can just sort of set the framework preset. You can set your build command, output directories, and it just works. They also have environment variables, so you can set environment variables for preview, which is preview environments or any environments that get triggered off of a PR. And then when you merge to master, this results in an automatic build and deploy to production. So Vercel's a cool platform.
Pretty solid stuff.
Yeah. So they do have a bunch of environment variables that they provide. I wonder if they let's see here.
Oh, it's not gonna. Stefan says that we're not gonna be merging that PR, unfortunately. So I probably shouldn't have shared it.
So we have like system environment variables, and there's, where are they all at? Those are some. Oh, where are they at? Here we go. So these are like a lot of environment variables that Vercel just offers to your build time. That you can just use. And so we're actually using this Vercel git commit ref, which points to the git branch.
Yep.
So just to make sure I copied that in right, I'm going to do that, and then we're going to do some magic here. This is really, I like naming my branches like feet / whatever, like git flow sort of branching. And I like conventional commit strategy. Like I actually use like a commit linter to make sure I'm following that linting strategy. So, but in order to, this is what the Contentful action is doing to get rid of those slashes, because that's actually going to not encode correctly as part of the URL. But what the GitHub action does is it just like replaces all of those and makes them into like slashes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so this has been a very roundabout way of saying we're setting up branch deploys. So it's been a long journey to get to
Yeah.
Adding like a one line.
Yeah. So this is a. I'm just gonna copy this. So this is a regex.
A little bit of regex. Yeah. Clean it up.
All right. So we have that change. It's a really simple change. That's really all we need to support multiple environments.
Let's see it.
Yeah. So let's do like a feat, and then multiple contentful environments, and
Gco is an alias for you, I'm guessing.
yes.
Yeah. Git commit. Yeah.
So we're going
Or
to
git checkout. Yeah.
have Pokemon. This is the Pokemon scope. Allow multiple contentful imps. Go ahead and commit that.
Pre-commit. Man, I'm impressed. I love how even for like a small live stream project or a personal project, you have like very standardized commit messages. You've set up the pre-commits. You're very diligent in your commit way.
So something with GPG failed, but
yeah.
I think this is okay. Uh-oh. Let's see here. What's going on with my GPG? I might just, for the sake of time, I might just, oh gosh, GPG is failing. So let's see here. Let me pop out another window real quick. Of course, like the demo gods are not with us.
Adrian saying that they need to do something similar for their client libraries, but they haven't yet.
Oh man. Okay, hold on.
I mean, we could also just edit the file directly on GitHub just for time, which probably isn't the best way to do it, but
missing. Okay, well, this is
while Tyler's figuring that out, if anyone has any questions or is looking for any answers, we'd love to hear them. If you've used our GitHub Actions or anything like that, we'd love to hear it. Adrian says that they want to be able to generate the changelog based on commits, and it's a work on progress. That's pretty cool. Automated changelogs are fun as well.
That's why I use like commit lint, because it just it will just like you can use this tool like standard version or like semantic version to automatically generate changelogs and do all that cool
stuff. You really
stuff.
have to do intentional commit messages though, so that it's actually useful for people that way.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're just going to use a different key. For some reason, my GPG key is missing.
Weston is saying you could try it with -- no -GPG -sign.
Oh, Weston, yeah, he's from Somo, so maybe I could do that. Yeah, I'll try that next time. So let's go ahead and, but I got this signed with a different key. So let's go ahead and push this up to our repo.
Yeah.
Of course,
so
like
that off screen,
one time where like this is like I set my GPG keys and I just.
I'm telling you, man, live coding is hard. This always happens.
Yeah. Of course, the demo gods are set to forsake us.
Yeah.
All right, so this is
we got the Vercel bot.
This is the Vercel bot automatically kicking off, and if we go,
and that's just something that comes in the Vercel action that we're using, right? That's not something you had to configure beyond like just using the action.
Yeah, the Vercel, it's like the Vercel GitHub app.
Yeah.
Configure that. And then if we go over to our actions, we can actually see that we have our workflow for deploying to running our tests and deploying to Contentful.
It's going out, and there's that visual thing.
This is new. GitHub hitting us with some new thing like right before the live stream. Jeez.
Hey, they gave us a couple days. They pushed this out on the 8th, so we had a week. Yeah. So yeah, and if we take a look at your workflow file, like we can see that each of these steps is going to map like one-to-one to what you've outlined in there. I find that the yarn bit or the npm install ends up being like the slowest thing out of
Yeah.
all of the stuff. It's always like the setup that takes the longest. So
Yeah, so what we're doing is we have a step to actually go and check out our code and run our tests, lint our code, like this yarn test step actually goes and lints our code as well. And then we have another step. Right now we have the deployment to Contentful dependent on our test passing.
Yep,
So
which makes total sense.
We might comment this out if we're running out of time, but we will see. Just so they can run in parallel. But right now, if this succeeds, then our deploy Contentful job will run, which will actually go and check out the code again, do all the good stuff there, because each job operates in a little separate little sandbox. And then we use our Contentful action to deploy to Contentful. And that's actually going to spin up our new environment. And so now our test looks like our test pass. So
we're in that second job.
We're running this one. So if we go over here and Contentful.
Why don't we take a look at the environments really quickly and see what's going on? So we've got just the one master. We've got the master alias, and I don't think this live reloads. I think we'll have to actually refresh it. So maybe we can jump back over to the GitHub action and just keep an eye on it, see what's going on here. But yeah.
Go install some stuff. Yeah, like you said, the yarn install, even though we're caching like our dependencies,
still takes forever.
It takes a while. Well, probably, so we can go ahead and well, actually, this is probably about to start. I don't want to miss this actually.
Yeah, it's going to go in just a little bit. It's usually about, there we go. Oh, and that was really fast. Yeah, so it does. Why don't we open that up and take a look at kind of what it's walking through.
So you can see that we had a git flow sort of name branch. We had feet / multiple Contentful environment. It takes care of getting rid of that slash and replaces it with a dash. And then it fixes it with GitHub. And it will go and create this environment for us.
It says it's not there, and it goes and checks to see if it is there, because maybe if you add another thing to the pull request, it'll trash it and respawn it for us.
Yeah, exactly. So that's actually a really good point, because oftentimes, like, when you're writing a Contentful migration, you want to be able to test it and maybe make modifications to it. And with the GitHub action, because it actually goes and it checks for the environment if it exists, and if it exists, it will go, and this is only on a PR, it will go and delete that environment and then spin up a new one, so that way you can rerun your migrations.
I mean, technically it runs that on a merge. It's just it's never going to be successful on a merge at finding the environment, because it's probably not going to exist because it's based around timestamps, but I mean, it's close enough.
So now we see in Contentful, we have our new environment. That's been branched off master. We can look at the environment, and we can see it there. And we got all of our content branched off of master. So sweet. But now
we haven't changed the content model at all. We didn't run a migration script as part of this. We didn't have a version number bump at all.
So just to show that this is like a separate piece,
slightly different.
So we're going to update the title of this blog post, and we're going to look at our Contentful app. So go back to our PR.
Vercel, I think, is going to give us a link.
And we can go check out our preview environment. Wish that opened up in a separate URL or a separate tab. So we have this page, and we go.
Now and our schema stitching should be set up. And you've got a different title.
We got bruh. Why is Bulbasaur #1? Bruh. So, and this is from editing that content in our Contentful environment. So we can play around with our content. If we migrated content, we can make sure that the migration and how that integrates with our front end is actually working. So this is really great. This gives us a complete sandbox environment with our content in Contentful and our environment in Vercel to just play around with and have fun. So let's go ahead and merge this PR. I'm going to back up a couple steps. Again, I wish that opened in a separate tab. So we're going to go ahead and merge this guy. I'll go ahead and do a rebase. Just a fast forward.
I am big into the rebase lifestyle.
So, all right. So let's.
And so an action is actually still running right now. If we click into the action tab, we'll see that there's one going.
So now we have, because we specified in our GitHub workflow to be triggered. Okay, I want this to be triggered on a pull request to master when these paths change, or I want it to be, well, I should say and I want it to be triggered off of a push to the master branch when these paths have changed. And so that's exactly what's happening. We merged to master, we pushed to master, and so now we have another GitHub workflow being triggered. And again, it's going to use our deploy Contentful sandbox job.
And it'll spin up a new environment for us as well, and it'll update the alias. And that's useful because if in the time since the pull request got approved, someone published a bit of new content or something, added a new blog or something like that, that'll come along as well. So so we're not dependent on code and content kind of being in sync. We can just live. So
so
and it should update this in a second.
Then notice that we have our Contentful environment here. And we are taking advantage of environment.
So yesterday.
And so we can basically spin up environments. And if I wanted to, technically, I could change this alias target to be
manually
this.
If you really wanted to.
But not going to do that. The Contentful action just handles all of that for us. It's going to automatically create a new master environment with a timestamp, and it's going to re-alias, and it will spit all of this out in the logs. This is taking too long to run, so probably. Why
don't we just do a poll and get started on the next thing, and maybe we could do a migration, and so we can actually see the content model and the version change, and do that kind of programmatically as well.
So let's go ahead and do a git stash. We're going to,
and I think you'll need to pull the master out as well. So.
We'll go ahead and pull down our master branch, get our sweet one-line change. And
best changes are one line, right? Easy to put to review. So
the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add, say, a new requirement has come in for our app, and we have that related blog post section.
And that right now that's just syncing on the name, right?
It's just syncing on the name, and it's only looking for, if I look at Bulbasaur, it's only going to show related blog posts about Bulbasaur. But maybe I have a new requirement that comes in that says, well, I want to see related blog posts about Pokemon that are of the same type as Bulbasaur. So it's like,
I mean, considering Adrian is a grass type starter, I feel like this is very appropriate, and I hope it'll make Adrian happy.
Yeah. So Bulbasaur's typing is what? Grass and poison?
Grass. Yeah. Oh man, I don't know about the second type. I haven't played Pokemon in so long that in my head he's just a single type Pokemon.
Well, he's definitely grass and poison, and so. But we need to be able to relate this content in Contentful. Like we want to be able to query Contentful based on some field. And so we want to add a new field to our content type in Contentful, and we can we can go ahead and do that. So we don't have a field right now, but let's go ahead and say that we want to add a field called like related Poketypes or something like that. Yeah. And we want to make it an array because, of course, a Pokemon can have multiple types.
You can have multiple. Yeah.
And we want to have this all done by our CI pipeline.
Yeah, so I don't want to have to log this. How many? You're only doing the first 2 or 3 gens here. That's what, like 300 and something Pokemon?
Yeah, like say we had like 1,000 blog posts. That would really suck to have to add in those types for every single blog post. It would be great if we could add the new field in our CI as part of a migration, and then actually populate all of that data across all of our blog posts automatically.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, let's check on our action. I see a little checkbox up here.
It's probably done by now.
So we have deploy Contentful.
And we can see that the alias was updated.
Yep, it detects that this was running on master, so it automatically created a new master environment. So if we go and check that out, we have our environment that was created at 1654, and then the alias has been moved as well.
Yeah,
and so
we can go ahead and delete the feature branch now as well, because we're not going to be using it.
So we can go ahead and delete this.
And then that old master is there if we need it.
Yeah, but maybe you want to have something that cleans up these every once in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe on a recurring schedule, maybe
that's something
that are older.
I'm curious about. Maybe I'll add that as like an environment variable to the pull request, and I'd love to know actually, folks, in the comments, what you think as like what's the appropriate frequency for cleanup. Maybe just anything older than a week we get rid of, or anything that hasn't been updated in a week we get rid of, and just maybe make that a configurable thing to kind of keep it clean. I know in the community tier you only get 4 environments, and so this can start to fill up fairly quickly when you start building these automatically. And then even on enterprise tiers, when you have a lot of environments, if you've got a lot of developers and a lot of features and branches going on, it can get a little intense. So I'm curious what folks want, so I can set it up.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you could also write a GitHub action to do this sort of thing.
Like a separate discrete cleanup script or something.
Yeah, and if we have enough time, I do have like one thing at the end that will actually, on a merge to when a PR is closed, it will actually go find the Contentful,
get rid of the feature request,
PR, and delete that Contentful.
That's pretty cool.
But
I like that.
We'll see if we have enough time to get to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to create a new migration.
Yeah.
Again, we're creating a related PokeTypes field on our content model, and then we want to automatically populate that field. The cool thing is that figuring out the types is actually really easy to do, because we actually already have the types as part of our graph, and so the types come in here. Yeah,
it's coming in from the Poke API, and so we're getting that from just the stitching. So
yeah, so we could actually, so what we're going to do is we're just going to consume our own. We're going to consume our own
schema stitching
API to build this out.
Cool.
We're going to.
So you're right now, just to clarify, you've created a second migration and you called it 2.js, because our migration thing is going to evaluate like, hey, we're on version number 1. You've got a 2 in there. 2 is bigger than 1, so let's go ahead and run this, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to look at that version tracking content type, look at the content. There's only going to be one instance of that content type. And then it's going to see, okay, we're at version 1. I see a migration for version 2. I'm going to go ahead and run that migration. And it will run all the migrations that are in the diff between where the content's at and where the content needs to be migrated to.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead, just to make sure we don't make any typos, let's go ahead and create a constant here.
Yeah.
That refers to the type that we're going to modify. And let's go ahead and create a constant for the field. So this is going to be related PokeTypes. It's going to be the new field that we're going to add to our content model. And
you might bump in this up just one more. The font. I know I keep bugging you about the fonts. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I mean, I have my terminal in another window now, so I have like 20 lines as opposed to 10, but this is fine. Oh yeah, and one thing I actually do want to add here, I'm not going to type this out manually because this is just like to kind of, I'm not going to type this out manually. I'm going to go ahead and add in a dependency on Contentful migration. And I know we're going to need Apollo, so I'm probably going to add a dependency on Apollo as well. So let's go ahead and go into our packages.
And this is that local function or local migration directory that you're adding these to. So it's, since you have everything kind of configured separately, it's only going to show up in that section.
Yeah, and
right?
So I mean, this is all. If I'm understanding your question, this is its own separate module, and so we're going to add some dependencies to our Contentful migrations package, and Yarn Workspaces is going to work its magic and make sure that everything's installed correctly and all that good stuff. So we should see those pop up here soon. But this is actually a really nice way if you're having to use sort of common JS, or you want to have some like type completion. You can add in a little comment like this, and it will give you the, it will pull in the type here. This will actually help you sort of write the code. Maybe you don't want to add a build step here and write in TypeScript. Maybe you don't want to add Babel. You just want to use for whatever reason. Okay, so we have our dependencies. You can see that our package JSON's updated.
Gotten a little bigger.
And let's go ahead and hop back into our migration file.
And the reason you've done this on the 2.js is because the 1.js is just like an instantiation kind of thing. It's probably an empty
like
migration
a file.
Yeah. It's just a here. This exists. Like there's nothing here, but we're.
So now I get, since migration's passed in as a argument to this function. Now that we have this comment, we have some nice IntelliSense and VS Code, which is pretty nice. So we're going. This is the migration CLI from Contentful, and so we're able to. Well, not the CLI. It's the library that the CLI is actually using underneath the hood.
So we can edit content. We can change fields. We can do transformations. We can do a lot of the stuff that the management API gives us, which is pretty great. And we did a stream on this a little earlier as well this quarter, which I'll toss in the comments for folks to check out down the line as well. And maybe we could pull up the documentation really quickly as well, just so folks know where to go to kind of read a little more about it. Not to mess with your flow.
What is it? Contentful migration.
And I always look at the GitHub one. So it's just github.com/contentful/contentful-migration, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in here as well too.
So this is what the GitHub
great examples.
This is how it runs the migrations. You can see that you have this is actually what we're actually creating fields. So that's what we're using.
Fields. So we're pulling up our content type.
Shows you how to do things. And one thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be transforming. We're going to be transforming entries.
Because we're going to be adding information to the entries.
So we're going to be using this API. So right now I'm just setting some information on the field. I'm saying like this is going to be an array type field. An array field needs to be told, okay, what type is each element in that array going to be? They're going to be a symbol. Notice we got all the nice IntelliSense there. We're going to add some validations as well, which is important. Which is a pretty cool thing that Contentful does. So we're actually, for those pokey inclined in the chat, you might know like some of the types in Pokemon. There is a discrete number. I'm not going to. I have them just in a file over here, so I'm not.
I would have been really impressed if you did that from memory.
So I'm just going to paste them all here. This probably could be just like we probably could expose this on our GraphQL API if we wanted to, but we're not going to do that right now.
It's a static list. It's small. It's fine to do it this way. If it was a million types, I would do this dynamically, but it's not. So
let's go ahead and
maybe the good way to do the check is, I guess, like add the validation for names, just to make sure people are spelling them correctly or something like that. If we really wanted to add a validation.
Yeah, that could work. So content type, we're doing our Pokemon blog type, which is what we, that's our constant. And then we're actually going to be...
So this is different, right? Because the first one that you did, the Pokemon blog type, you set it to use the edit content type, and now you're doing it different. So you've got a respawn migration as well.
Yeah, so I'm saying here, like I'm grabbing the content type and I'm actually going and creating the field. And that's going to run. And now I want to actually move some data into that new field that I've created. So this is the field that I'm going to be using all my content to source from. This is going to be the field that I'm going to be populating.
I've got a request from Adrian for the next thing that we have to build. We have to add in voice assistant functionality to tell Adrian what types are super effective against what other types.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's that would be helpful, especially if you're playing competitively. Sometimes trying to remember the typings of Pokemon, and especially if they're dual types, like what's actually going to be like super effective, or sometimes times 4 effective if you're lucky.
Ultra effective.
Ultra effective. Like if it's like like if the typing is like water and like ground, like grass, like 4 times effective or something like that. I could get that wrong. Feel free to correct me in the chat, but So we actually need to create our client now. So we've been writing our migration. We need to actually create our like Apollo client that we're going to use to consume our API. And so let's go ahead and create our client up here. We're going to instantiate an Apollo client. Pull in some things at Apollo client. We're going to pull in the constructor for Apollo client. We're going to pull in our HTTP link because we're going to need that. We're also going to need in-memory cache because Apollo client requires you to specify a cache. And of course, we're going to write a query, so we're going to need that as well. So let's go ahead and instantiate our Apollo client. Apollo client needs a link, so we're going to need.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt you again, but this is a good, this is a great joke. Rock is good against flying because you kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Oh man. LOL. Okay, so I have the. I'm not going to type this out. I went ahead and grabbed the URL of our GraphQL API here.
Yep.
And this also needs a fetch. So this is actually something we need to add a dependency. Let's go ahead and add cross fetch.
Yep.
Pull that in, and we're going to have. If we're using Dino, we wouldn't need to do this. We just have native fetch on Dino. I digress. Then we need a cache. So Apollo client always requires a cache. We're going to go ahead and create one there. Okay, so now we have our Apollo client. Now we need to actually write our query that we're going to use to fetch the types from our API. So Pokemon types query. I can type.
Hardest part of programming is spelling.
I thought it went. There's only 2 hard things in computer science, like naming things, cache invalidation, and off by 1 errors. I think that's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we gotta not pay.
Yeah. I like that you have this memorized already. Normally I would be in GraphQL, like writing this and then copy pasting it over and modifying it.
We do a lot of GraphQL at Somo, and so like
that's awesome.
Eventually you get to the point where you're able to kind of form queries. And
you just have it. You don't need it.
But I do have some notes that I'm going off of as well, just to help me not lose track. So what do we want here? So we want the name. Oh gosh. We want
the type.
The name, and we want the types. Oh, what's going on? We want.
I think it's auto completing.
Oh. We want the types. Okay, cool. Okay, this should be it. So this should be our query. This looks right to me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we'll find out when we run it, and that's kind of why the way that we're doing it is okay, because if we fuck it up, it's no big deal because it's on an environment and we can just remake it and rerun it.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. So we can do client.query. We're going to pass in our query here, which is going to be our Pokemon types query. We need to pass in the variables, and the variables is actually going to come from the content in Contentful. So we're actually going to pull
our validations
name, and this is going to be from, like our from here, because we're saying we want the name from our content type. So we're going to pull in the name. And then we actually need to specify the locale as well.
Yep. Set it to English.
So let's bump that to line. So it's a little bit easier to read. I'll scrunch step. All right. So this should be the data that we get back from our API, from our GraphQL API. And now we actually want to return.
Set it. Yeah.
Want to return an object that Contentful is going to use to set the field. So we have.
So this is our newly created field that we're using here.
Data Pokemon.types. Then we have. We're going to return an object where the key, using our constant again. This is why I made it a constant, so we don't flub the typing somewhere.
Yeah.
And this is the new content that we're going to add.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if we have an error, let's go ahead and
find out what
log
happened.
the error. And let's make sure that if for some reason we have an error, let's go ahead and delete the field. So that way we can run our migration again. Or whatever reason.
But we don't have to do that if we don't want to. Because
no, we don't have to do
we
that.
can just create the environment again, delete it, and recreate it.
Yeah, if we're using the Contentful action, it will automatically like create.
So this is
like,
more, we're just running it locally to check it and make sure it works.
Yeah. Okay, let's just make sure. Related Poketypes, Pokemon blog. Okay, this looks good. So I think this is all we need. So we're gonna go ahead and commit this. Let's see if GPG is on my side again. I mentioned to you before this call that my key my I key is sticky. All right, what was that?
Physically sticky, not a sticky key built-in function, but like physically sticky.
So what is this?
Add types.
Related Poketypes field migration. What was that? What was that flag that Weston posted?
Weston said it's --no -gpg-sign.
That's promising. It hurts me to not sign it, but the show must go on. Woo! Shout out
It worked.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and we're not actually done with this feature, because now we want to actually move this into our front end. We want to actually like show the related blog posts.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead.
Why don't we go ahead and create the PR first, though, just so it'll run, and we can take a look at it once we've updated the front end.
Sure, we could do that. I mean, when we push a new commit, it's going to.
Yeah, but we can look at the old one and at least inspect it while we wait for the new one to run.
All right, so let's go ahead and push it up then. Feet and related blog posts. Let's go open up a nice brand new PR.
Yeah, let's do it.
Big money, no whammies. Okay, cool.
Cool. So let's go mess with the front end. Well,
All right.
This is
so
doing
what do we got? Oh yeah. So we were going to go to our GraphQL And let's actually see what's name this. So I can have a separate query over here because I'm going to be doing some content querying. I'm going to do, this is one of our contentful types. We're going to be doing, I just want to see what sort of filtering we can do because we want to now be able to pull in.
I mean, will we actually need to run the migration to do that and look at the environment to like have it show up in GraphQL?
Yes, and that was actually a good call to run the PR because that's
so we can just use the environment when it's created.
Yeah. So just for the sake of time, I kind of know what this query is going to look like. So let's go ahead and go into our individual blog post page. And this is the query that we're making now. We just we hit our Pokemon blog collection where the name is equal to the Pokemon name, and it's not the current blog post. And then we order those by the published at date. So this is all Contentful magic. All things provided by Contentful. Shout out to you guys for building a nice GraphQL API. So let's go ahead.
I mean, shout out to you and other folks in the community for giving us feedback and helping us make it better. So
So we have our React component here. This is passing in the blog that we actually get back from Contentful from the main page. We're here. We're fetching all the Pokemon, and then we get the related blogs, and if there's slug, and then we link to those if we need to with this, and then we pass in the blog post. And so that's what we're getting here. And so our new field that we're going to have is going to be the related Poketypes field on our blog. And then we're going to need to make a new query. Well, at least we're going to have to pass in some extra variables here. So we're going to need to pass in a types field where we provide the related Poketypes. And let's go ahead and bring that down here so you can actually see it on the screen. So we're going to include the related Poketypes as part of our GraphQL query that we're using to get the related blog posts. And then let's add in types up here. And what is this going to be? Types is an array of strings, right? Non-nullable strings, and it is a non-nullable array. So it's always going to be something. And then we're going to use some of the nice filtering that Contentful provides. So we're going to do an OR here, which we can pass as an array. So we can say, we can move this guy up into here. And then we want to do some additional filtering. We want to do, or if the related there's like a special type that Contentful adds, which is the related Poketypes contains some. And then we want to make sure we have it.
That's where we'll use that type array.
And then we'll pass in the types. And so that should get us what we need. And we want to make sure as part of our get server-side props query, we are loading the related Poketypes here. Let's make sure that we haven't made a typo anywhere. Looks all right. And let's make sure that we can actually run this. We should have a thing in our...
the environment is probably spun up by now.
Here, let me just copy the query.
Will you need to remove the TypeScript stuff in GraphQL, or will GraphQL handle that? Oh, it looks like it.
We just need to make sure. Probably need to refresh.
Well, you're also going to have to point the endpoint to the environment.
Yep. So our contentful environment. So let's go back over here. Let's go to deployments. We have our related blog posts environment.
Yeah. We got a question from Ashley, and Ashley wants to know, what does the contain underscore sum do?
Yeah. So the contain
Maybe
underscore
we can
sum.
pull up the filtering and the docs in GraphQL once.
Man, look at this. Look at this nice documentation here. All right. So Contentful will automatically generate some of these filter fields that you can use to filter collections that are exposed to GraphQL.
And they're different by type, right? Like, so you're looking at so we're using an array right now, and it looks like you're looking at the symbol.
Yeah, this is for like
which this is an array of symbols that we're using, or an array of short text, basically.
Let's see if we have
we
have contain sum somewhere.
Yeah. So I think specifically in this case, it's going to take the array that we're passing it, and as long as an item from the first array is in the second array, then it'll return the stuff.
Yeah.
Versus contain none is looking for exclusion, and then contain all is looking for precise matches.
Yeah. So you can sort of think of it like an array.sum in JavaScript.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great question, Ashley.
Okay, so let's take our query over here.
Yeah. And we updated the endpoint to the branch deploy. Oh, here we are.
Yep. So we're here, and let's just make sure that have our query variables. Name. Let's go with Bulbasaur. Let's go types. Well, we already know that
Grass.
That's right. Yes. Some of our astute colleagues in the chat pointed out
Adrian coming in for the win here with the helpful information.
Then the current slug. I honestly don't know what the slug will be. Something's going on here. Are related.
I don't think it matters right now. I mean, it'll probably be Bulbasaur, but we'll just ignore Bulbasaur in the return.
Well, something's going on here. What's going on? Let's make sure that our migration ran.
Oh, we got an
error.
Fail. Oh.
We got live debugging. The demo gods have forsaken us once more. All right, let's see here. Migration unsuccessful.
You spelled Poketypes consistently.
Let's see over here. Let's make sure. Oh boy.
Can we take a look at those GitHub logs? Will those give us a bit more verbosity?
Well, at least our catch code ran and it deleted the field.
Yeah. Well, you're still looking at master right there, so.
Yeah. What's going on here?
Why don't we try running it locally? And since we now have a new environment, we could just run it against that environment and then see if it gives us a bit more detail, or at least the logs will be local that way.
Yeah. Well, let me just go ahead and let's see.
Type. Related type field. You mind scrolling up just a little bit? Related type. You called it. Oh no, you're consistent there. Related types field. Types field. Ashley's saying we should check the error logs too.
All right. Let's see. Oh boy. Unzipping. Now we get some live debugging. So this is nice.
It's more fun that way.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Like in the logs, it like says something about like GPG keys or something. I'm just like, no.
That would be hysterical if it was a GPG issue. I really don't think it is, but if it is, I will eat my lunch, or eat someone else's lunch, or whatever the phrase is.
All right, let's see what we got here.
You gotta massively bump up that font if you want me and the the viewers to help you on this one. Keep it small and you're on your own.
Well, that doesn't help at all.
That was not helpful at all in the slightest.
Hold on. There's a bunch of log files here.
Yeah. What was that file name? Is it labeled cleanly or?
Deploy Contentful.
We want that errors -2 . I think if we do run this locally, it'll also it'll just put the logs locally on our system, and then we can dig into it as well. And we could just reuse that environment since it did the deletion for us already.
Oh, I do have this.
Like just use the Contentful CLI. I'm assuming you already have it installed in your terminal. Just like a Contentful space use, pick up this thing and then run it.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here. We got Contentful CLI. I'm gonna have to be refreshed on the syntax here.
Oh, I think I can help you out on that one. So
I do also have like a copy of the commit. I could just just cherry pick that commit, and then we could, because it must be some sort of typo that I've made somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we run it locally, it'll generate the error log locally, and we can take a look at it. And so we don't have to hunt it down in the GitHub logs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so it would be Contentful CLI space use, and then we would pick the environment that we're on, space use, or if we would pick the space we're on, it'll give us like a list and
like literally
space use, yeah, and it'll give us a thing, and we can pick it space with a space in between the words. Yep.
We're using space as the word and space as the space. Oh boy. Okay.
You can just hit enter and it'll give you a list. Oh, does this install it every time you use it?
Well, I don't have it in. I am running it from MPX.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be in my dependencies.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
so then,
it's not going to be in my dependencies because it's used
I
by
just assumed you had it installed globally.
No, I use it for projects. I rarely install things globally.
Is it going to be able to cache the stuff, or like will it know that you've pre-logged in before, or is it going to ask for your management key this way?
It's probably going to ask for the key stuff, to be honest, because usually I set this up per project.
Yeah.
I rarely install things like globally, so this is why it's doing this.
I think this might take longer than I think it is, because we'll need to authenticate it, And if it's not caching, it's going to end up being contentful space migration -s, the space ID -e for the environment, and then the key, which I don't know off the top of my head what the variable for that is, but we can pull it up really quickly. And then you list the migration file, and then you run that, and it'll generate the logs for us.
And there's definitely, I mean, it'd be nice to debug this, but I do have some working commits. It's probably a typo that I've made.
Oh, you want to just steal it from one of your practice runs? But yeah, why don't we just do that then? Just steal it from your practice run.
So for the sake of time,
sure.
Let's see here. So let's go ahead and check out a branch. Let's go ahead.
Ashley's asking, can you go to the home ... path that GitHub Actions says has the error logs?
I assume that's actually, this is actually on the runner that GitHub is using.
So we would need to log into the runner and poke around for it. And GitHub isn't going to give it to us easily. It's going to be a bunch of work to get it.
All right, let's see here. I got a branch. I'm gonna push up that branch. We're gonna open up another PR, which gives us our own little sandbox environment again. Yeah, I must have done like some typo or something. Or
yeah, I was saying if you just look at one of your closed things, and we could just do a. I mean, honestly, you could copy paste this into your old branch, and it'll read out, or it'll show us exactly what's different in the Git diff, the local Git diff. Yeah, I think if you look at the files change, we'll actually be able to see it. If you click in the second commit, like the 19962 EC, and it'll show us what's changed, and it'll tell us exactly what the typo is.
Oh, this is my front end change.
Yeah. Oh, this is a brand new thing.
Yeah, I probably made a typo somewhere.
Yeah. All right, so this already brought. So I guess we should take a second to refresh what this is in case we've had any new viewers join while it's running. So what we've done is we've created a second migration file. That migration file is going to run via GitHub Actions on your Contentful space. It's going to create a new environment. It's going to run the migration on that environment, and then it's going to do all the testing and make sure that everything's happy. And then you've also made a couple front end changes to account for the things that you changed via this migration. So this migration is making it so that we can see related blog posts to some of the Pokemon. So when we click on Bulbasaur, it'll give us blog posts that for other Pokemon that are either of grass or poison type. And you've got some schema sketching going on behind the scenes to kind of make this all work together over the Pokemon API and the Contentful API. And so yeah, you also made some front end changes so we can see that. Does that feel like a accurate summary?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean,
cool.
We basically had
we cheated because we didn't get the function right on the first time, so we just took one that you ran a little before, which is totally fine.
Yeah. I flubbed the typing somewhere.
Yeah, people. I don't think folks want to watch us solving typos.
So yeah, this is the front end change where we just basically we make sure that we're filtering using Contentful on the related Poketypes field. So we get a blog post about that same Pokemon, or if the Poketype is related, so another grass or poison, and then
Ashley says that she thinks that we keep saying bubble sort.
Yes, bubble sort would definitely be a good analogy for the speed at which it would take to debug the typo. It would be very slow.
Oh no. I think she means when you say Bulbasaur, she's hearing Bulbasaur or Bubble Sort. How? Now I'm doing.
Oh man. Oh, what is going on here?
Oh no, we got another fail.
Yeah, what's going on?
Hmm.
This code definitely worked in the past. So what is going on in Contentful? Did you guys change something on me?
I don't think so.
Probably not. So what's going on here? So we have, it's definitely trying to run the migration.
Yeah. Why don't we take a look at our content model and just double check that our content types match up? The IDs of the content are matching up. So yeah, it's Pokemon_blog. And we didn't use the fancy E.
I mean, it's definitely finding the type based on the logs because
yeah, it's and the first migration is successful. So it's an error that's happening in the create field related Poke types.
Well, it looks like, yeah.
In the transformation.
Yeah, it looks like it's in the transformation.
Oh, you know what it might be? Go take a look at... No, this wouldn't be it. I was going to say, go take a look at how many environments you... Oh, Michael is saying it's not seeing the field related Poke types. So are we actually... Yeah, we're failing to create related Poke types, which is causing everything else to fail. So what's going on in the create process, the create field related Poke types process in the migration?
I mean, so what we're doing is we're just setting we're creating the field, or we say we're going to edit the content type. We go and create the field, specify that's an array, we add some validation.
Type symbol, yep. So this is where it's failing.
Something here.
Well, no, because it's giving us the migration unsuccessful on line 29, and then 36 is going to trigger because 29. Oh, because of the array. Maybe that array is. Maybe just drop the validation for right now, and we can come back to it later.
Validation would be nice. What's the weirdest thing is that this definitely it's definitely worked before.
Yeah.
And then I reset the environment.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So let me go ahead and make this commit. Push it up. Action will do its magic. And hopefully, yeah, it seems like there's something with this this field here. It's not liking something here.
Yeah. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but we can drop it and see what happens.
Forsaken us.
Did you push it already? Is it running?
Yeah, let me go ahead and actually get rid of this. Let me get rid of that as well, so we're not waiting on that.
Cool. Yeah. All right. I see what you're doing.
Well, because in an ideal world, you would run all your tests, you would lint your code, and then only if all those pass, then you would actually go and create the Contentful environment. But
I'm with you. But
we're going to do this.
You're taking off the guardrails.
Taking off the bumpers. All right. So let's push that up. Typically, I would want my commits to be a lot cleaner, but
yeah, it's okay.
All right, here we go. So we have our actions running. Let's see what we get. So you can see
we've already got the deploy running.
Yeah, so
the visual designer is a little different now.
Yeah, since we removed the need, they'll now
Yeah.
just run in parallel with each other.
Yeah. Not recommended, but unless you're live streaming.
Yeah, unless the demo gods have forsaken you, in which case. Sure.
Yeah. We might be running out soon as well, so
let's go ahead and we shouldn't run out unless we have like a new PR or something like that.
I don't think so. But we will when we merge it in. We'll be down one. All right, here we go.
Big money, no whammies.
Evaluate, update, 0 errors. Oh, I think it failed.
What is going on here? Well, this is very odd. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. Because this code definitely worked before. And like this is I cherry picked the commit, and so
yeah. Oh, hold on. Let me pull up the Contentful changelog. We did have a breaking change on something recently.
Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah. We had a breaking change. Go pull up the Contentful changelog. You're right. We changed something.
Oh my god.
We have to. This is my fault. I should have remembered this. I was talking with Stefan about this. I want to say yesterday. So this is my fault. I will own this. But there's a breaking entry. We're on version 4.0 of the Contentful migration CLI, which is we need to add a publish. So we need to publish the actual, when we create the field, we need to, yeah. I don't know if this is relevant, but I should have thought of this. Maybe just add a should publish true.
I'm more inclined to just install, like, what version of the Contentful?
Yeah, what version of the CLI are you using in the package?
Well, it's going to be whatever version of the Contentful action is using.
Yeah, which I think I might just have it set to like up, which
Contentful management.
Oh yeah, that's.
Oh man. Well, if that is what's causing it, change the default behavior of transform entries. I mean, I don't know if that's what's causing it because.
Yeah, because it looks like it's failing on the create function, not on the transform. So we should be getting this error anyway, but.
I mean, we can go ahead and try it. I mean,
I don't think this will fix it, but I think this would be a thing that we would encounter in a little bit anyway, except for, yeah.
I mean, this. I mean, this is.
Oh, it's already getting picked up by your typing.
So, let me look at something. Well, that was just like, if this ends up being it, it's like a perfect storm.
Yeah. The create function did put out a log as well, though. It's something Michael is saying. So I don't think this is actually the problem, but I mean, it's something that we should do anyway. Um,
Yeah. I mean, this code is verbatim what I was doing before. So,
yeah.
or like what worked before. So,
Mhm.
the fact that it's not working now is concerning. I mean, just to get through the rest of the demo, maybe we want to just have like the migration transform the entities, like migrate the fields. Maybe we just like create this field like through the Contentful dashboard. Just trying to think of ways to make sure we don't get stuck here as part of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I really want to run this locally. Is like I feel like so we can get to those logs really quickly and see what's going on.
Yeah, so I mean, we can try that out. I mean, I can pull my, like if we don't want to show the management keys or something, I could just run it like off
Yeah.
screen or something.
Yeah. Let me pull up my terminal so I can give you the right magic words.
I did push up that should publish change. So
yeah, so if that was it, it'll be there. But I don't think it'll be that. I think it's happening sooner than that. So I do a lot of CI/CD stuff now, and this is always the thing that bugs me about it is to like check and see if why things are broken. It takes it's like going back into the world of compiling. If you remember waiting for compile times, it's like right. But yeah, I don't think this will fix it. I think we're gonna want to run it locally.
no.
Yeah.
Well, dang, what's going on here?
Yeah.
This is verbatim the same code that worked like on Sunday, I think.
Yeah. It happens.
It happens. All right, so let's see here. Doesn't have that field on it or anything. I mean, it definitely looks like it's I mean, to me, it looks like it's creating the field just fine.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. I mean, oh no.
Yeah, I don't think it's creating the field. I think it's failing at the
zero
Oh no, it
errors.
is here. Yeah.
It's 0 errors here, but then when we
Yeah.
try to transform the entries,
From name. Yeah.
so let me just make sure.
I'm just gonna toss the command to you in the chat.
I know what it
You
is.
figured it out?
Yep,
Yeah?
yep. Oh man, this is fantastic. So
What was it?
I will show you momentarily. So right.
What do we do? What do we mess up?
It's my fault. It's my fault. Okay, so right before I changed the name of this app from Pokemon Lover to Contentful Livestream.
Oh, Tyler, what are you doing to me?
Ooh.
Oh, this is good. This is good because we've only got 10 minutes left because my roommate needs to make a call and we share our office space. So,
Oh
so we got
man.
10 minutes to wrap this.
All right. Yeah. So I'm pushing up this change now.
Yeah,
Oh,
and we can put the validation back, I guess, because it'll work.
you know what's funny is like I specifically highlighted this line. Was like, yeah, I'm not gonna like type this out because I'm gonna end up flubbing the URL, and then it ends up just being
Oh
like
gosh.
a raw URL.
I'm
Okay.
glad you caught it because I would never have noticed that.
All right. Let's make sure that this is actually a place. All right. Cool. We got GraphQL. All right.
Oh.
Ah, big oof. What's going on? What's taking so long? All right. We're going to keep all these extra. I would usually clean up the commits, but
Yeah. Did you make the push so we don't have to wait the minute and 5?
yeah, I made the push.
Cool.
Oh, big oof, man. Sorry, everyone. That was a typo on my end.
I mean, it just happens, right?
Me
Like
trying,
everyone.
me trying to be
That,
kosher. I was like, man, this shouldn't be named Pokemon Lover app. This should be named like Contentful Livestream because that's what it's for. Well, in the meantime, we can actually work on something else. So, and this is actually a really quick sort of thing that we can do. One other thing that the Contentful action does is it provides outputs that can be fed into other GitHub actions. And so we can actually use a GitHub action to comment back the information about the environment back onto the PR.
Yeah.
And so there's one already pre-built for us. It's called commit comment.
Yeah.
And it will
we actually use that in the main GitHub action as well, or in the example script. I think we use it in one of the demos, but yeah.
Yeah. So we can actually use this GitHub action to take the outputs of the Contentful action and post them back to as a comment on our PR with a link to it. So let's go ahead and name this step to go ahead and name it to migration. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to type all this out. Name its last words. So that's exactly what I did in the last one. It would have been better if I typed it out. Okay, so we named our deploy contentful step.
Extra line.
No, this will work.
No, this will work.
So we have our extra step here that uses the commit comment. It supports Markdown, so we're actually grabbing one of the outputs from the migration step, which is our deploy contentful, and we grab the environment name and the environment URL. And so with that, we're able to post a comment back to our PR. So speaking of PRs, let's go ahead and get this PR merged. So hopefully we have it so that the content was migrated successfully. Big money, big money.
Hey, we got a green. I love it.
We got a green. Woo! Oh yeah, look at that.
So why don't we go take a look at that environment really quickly and poke around?
Oh man. Okay, so we have related posts.
Version 2.
Version 2, and if we go,
we ran a 2 migration.
A Bulbasaur. Yay! We have related Poke types, and we have it is grass and poison.
Yep. And now if we go take a look at the front end that Vercel gave us, we should have the relatable stuff.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of all of this. So we have our environment from our related blog posts.
And we click into bubble sort.
Yep, click into bubble sort, and then Related blog post, we now got a link to Vile Plume blog
There's a
post
poison type
because
and a grass type.
And a grass type. And so let's check out another one. So we got like Pikachu over here. And we got a link to Magneton blog post and a Raichu blog post.
I like that you just know that the Raichu one, like it doesn't have Raichu in it. You just know off the top of your head.
Well, I did write these blog posts. And,
yeah.
yeah. And so
yeah, I could tell you had a lot of fun with these titles.
Yeah, I had some fun. But yeah, that's basically our new feature. And so we have like a code change along with the content migration. And I wouldn't have flubbed the URL. This would have worked like right out of the gate.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. It happens to everyone, including me.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and merge that, and then we can take our new commit, and we can let's go ahead and
just
get rid of
feature branch.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have enough time to actually show like creating an action to delete these. I'll go ahead and I can merge all of the code into master and make it available in the repo, and you can see all the code there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and we'll have it in the comments of the video description as well. And I think I posted it earlier in the stream, so I'll go and repost it again, just so folks have it. Oh yeah, it's. And I guess while you commit that thing that you showed us, I'm going to go ahead and just plug some of our stuff that's coming up. Like I mentioned, this is our last live stream for the year, but we are not done live streaming. We'll be back next year in January. I'm on vacation next week, and so is Stefan and David. So the DevRel team is out for the year. So no more live streams till January, unfortunately. We do have some more events this week. We've got the European Community Hangout, which is going to be tomorrow at 6 p.m. CET. And we'll have Phil from Netlify joining us, which will be a lot of fun. Phil is like such a great speaker. And then we'll have David Linnard, who's going to be sharing something that David built, combining Storybook and Contentful, which will be really fun. And then again at 6 p.m. EST or ET, we're going to have the North America community meetup. It's going to have Henry showing some of the amazing stuff that Henry's been working on. I'm such a fan of like all of Henry's work. Henry runs the Jamstack meetup in Toronto and has been putting out some really amazing content around images recently that is fantastic, and you absolutely have to go check out. And then Erica, who's a friend of mine who's been building like a rent countdown clock for a nonprofit she's been working with, will be showing her project. She built it in a very short amount of time, in less than 5 days, and I think it's a really cool little tool, and I'm such a huge fan of both of them. The North American meetup is going to be amazing as well. And then after the talks, we'll be hanging out and we'll be playing Among Us. So, do join us for that if you wanna play some Among Us with us. It should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for these two meetups, and otherwise we will see you in January for our first live stream. And I want to say that it's gonna be we have some amazing live streams coming up next quarter that I'm really excited. We're going to be doing something with Adrian again. Adrian's going to come back, and we're thinking we're going to do something with IoT, but we're still deciding. We're going to be doing something with Brian Douglas from GitHub and showing more of the GitHub Actions off, which should be a lot of fun. And then David from the Contentful Developer Relations team and I are going to keep working on the app that we were doing last week, the kind of rich text styled assets app, which should be a lot of fun as well. And I'm really excited to share that. Tyler, how we doing on the commits?
The commits up. It's running the action now.
Yeah. All right.
We can see that we have our new
yep.
action added to our workflow, where we're actually taking the information that's output from our Contentful action, and it's using it to post a comment back on the PR. So if you wanted so we should get a cool link.
There it is. So it should be up. We got a pass, and so it should be.
So if we go back to our conversation.
Yep.
we can see that. Okay, so we got a contentful environment created. We have the name, and then if we click here,
it'll take us straight there.
To our environment.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for joining us. I hate to cut you short a little bit, but where can people find you online if they wanna learn more about you and see some of the stuff that you're working on?
Well, I mean, I don't have a Twitter or anything. I mean, I'm on GitHub, so you can check out my GitHub. I'm working on some cool open source stuff there, and that's basically it. I mean, it's on GitHub, and I wish we could have gotten further in to the talk, but much to my chagrin, it was.
It sounds like you got to come back. I'm hearing that you got to come back, and we got to keep going. So.
I'll make sure that I don't change the name of like a URL like the last minute.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for your time. Thanks to everyone that showed up and commented in the stream. It's always so much fun when people hang out with us, and so thank you so much. If I don't see you tomorrow, I will see y'all in January for our next round of live streams. But I hope I see y'all tomorrow. And that's a wrap from us. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.